You know, I was hoping for a fun little comedy special, get a couple laughs in the morning when it came out, but what I got instead was an existential crisis. But honestly, that's my own fault. Bo's never really lied to us what he's about, you know? So Bo Burnham's Inside just came out, and pretty much like everybody else in the world, I watched it, and I got a couple laughs, and then as it went on, I got sadder, and I reflected on myself more, and then by the end, you know, I didn't know what to feel. So this video is honestly kind of hard to make because I still almost don't know what to feel about it. I sat on it for a few days trying to figure out what to talk about, trying to figure out how to make this video about Inside. And then a couple days ago, I actually did another rewatch of it. When I watched it the first time, I watched it in the morning and my family was around and my toddler was, screaming and doing toddler things that are distracting when trying to watch a special of this caliber. And I kept pausing it every now and then, so it took me about 3 hours to get through, but it still hit me heavily. And I still sat there with my wife at the end, just kind of, you know what I'm talking about? But I wanted to watch it properly, and I wanted to make this video properly. So a couple nights ago, I watched it in bed in the dark with headphones on, and let me tell you what, it's more than I thought. More what? I don't know, but more. That's for damn sure. Now, for anybody watching this that doesn't really know who Bo is, or somebody that watched the special and then searched up Bo Burnham Inside, whatever, and got to my video, let me give you a quick rundown on who Bo is. Bo Burnham is a stand-up comedian, and more specifically, musical comedian that got his start when he was very young, 16 years old, on YouTube. And over the years, he's released many, many specials, including Bo for Show, Words, 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 What, and Make Happy. And then he took a 5-year break from Make Happy until this. A 5-year break that in this he talks about taking because of his major anxiety attacks that he would get on stage and needing to take a step back and take care of himself, which makes sense. He's been in the limelight as one of the most genius artists and comedians of our time since he was 16 years old. I don't know the kind of toll that takes on somebody, but it has to take a massive one. But Bo has always had this very perfectionist style. Every single one of his stand-ups is planned over years at a time, and as he said, everything is planned down to the gesture. He knows every word, every move he's going to make. He's a perfectionist. And not only is his stuff always hilarious, it is always deep and thoughtful, and he says things that many other people only can think. Now, Bo's newest special, Inside, is unlike anything he's ever made. It's not recorded live. It's not recorded in front of an audience, because obviously, you know, you live in the world. You live in this world with me. You know what the fuck's going on. You know why this was filmed inside. But it was filmed inside because after 5 years, he finally felt like he could come back to performing live comedy. He talked about this later on in the special. In a much sadder way, he talked about it than what I'm expressing right now, but he still did talk about it briefly. So after 5 years, he felt he could come back to comedy, but then the world fell to shit and he recorded it inside. You know, hence the name. But not only was this made inside, this was made in one room with the producing and the directing and the writing and even the editing all done by him in this very one room. He got all the props himself. He didn't have any help on this whatsoever. Bo didn't start out like this. When he was doing piano songs like Bo Yo back on YouTube, nobody saw this type of music coming from him. But over the years, it has gotten more reflective and more deep and more what we know as Bo today. But he's always had hints of it in his other work. Going back to Words, 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 the one that stands out in my head the most is Art is Dead. That was not even a very funny song. It did have notes of comedy in it, but it was more just a stance on art and what art is nowadays. And then he had Left Brain, Right Brain, and What. And then what stands out the most to me and Make Happy is Can't Handle This, which is his final song in the set, where he's singing about silly things, one verse, and then the next verse singing about how trying to entertain, trying to give people what he can't have is killing him and taking from him, and he's losing himself in this art that he is doing. And it's just mixed in with comedy, and it's oh God, it's difficult. And it's the ending song. And if you go back and you watch my video I made years ago on Make Happy, I started out the video by being like, is Bo okay? Because that's when we first got hints that this guy's not okay. And obviously he wasn't. He took a 5-year break from comedy. But despite all that, and despite everything I said, Bo has always been hilarious. Obviously he's hilarious. We call him a comedian. We don't call him a TED Talk guy that's sad, you know? He's a comedian. But it's always been dark comedy in some sense or another. It's just become more obvious and more prevalent within his work as he's gotten older. He's not a child anymore. Obviously, in his last special, it was most obvious. Last special as in Make Happy, not this one, but it's always been there in the background. But now it's here in the foreground. But because it's here in the foreground, this special seems like the peek inside a struggling mind. You really get to see glimpses. Granted, they are choreographed glimpses. He is a perfectionist, but you get to see glimpses of him decaying and deteriorating over the year, of his psyche and his mentality becoming worse. And the time is played with wonderfully by the fact that he doesn't cut his hair or shave his beard at all. So from the very beginning, when he seems joyous and rambunctious even about making this, as time goes on, he becomes more cynical and almost angry about this production that he's doing, that he has to even still be doing this. But also the fact that he does not want to end this, because he spoke about the fact that he doesn't know what he would do once this is over. He's afraid to finish the special, because then what? The way this is structured is like long songs, short songs, and what I would call interludes, which is like tiny little things that he does in between songs, where he's either mocking Let's Play commentary, or he's mocking React channels, or just breaking down and crying, or telling you that he's horny. Now, the thing is, it does not start out as heavy as I'm talking about. It actually starts out really lighthearted, really funny, really joyous. Oh my God, Bo is back. Can you believe it? Guys, come in the fucking room, sit on the damn couch and watch Bo. He's back. Oh my God, look at him. He looks great. Look how handsome. Let's thirst after him. Oh, he starts out the show with healing the world with comedy, where he jokes about being a white guy with lots of money that's going to stick his nose in all the things that's going on, and he's going to fix it with comedy. And he has That's How the World Works, where he's talking about how the world works, and it's a play on like children's musicals. And then he has a little sock puppet that gets really, really deep and existential, and then he kills the sock puppet and sends it to the void or whatever, and it's just funny. That's played off for laughs. It sounds dark, but it's really hilarious. And then he has obviously the most lighthearted song in the whole thing, which is A White Woman's Instagram. Fucking hilarious. But then halfway through, he turns 30, and it's pretty much exactly halfway through the special. He turns 30, and he talks about how he wanted to do this special and finish it before he turned 30. But he'd been working on this for 6 months already, and he still had a lot down the road. And that's when things take a darker turn. That's where the interludes aren't like mocking Let's Players or reaction channels. They become him crying, him talking about how he doesn't have faith in the world anymore, him watching old videos of him just being this happy teenager playing piano on YouTube with a reflection of him talking to himself from the past about not killing himself. That actually happens, and it's fucking dark, and it makes you feel things that isn't laughter during this comedy special. But again, I gotta reiterate, I did laugh. I laughed a lot. It's fucking hilarious, and I fucking love this special. It's truly masterful to intermingle these emotions of despair and longing with happiness and joy and laughter, but then back to sadness and thinking deeply about yourself and your situation and your own mental health and your anxiety and your depression and so on and so forth. And then to have it end and you feeling all these mix of emotions and just fucking, it's hard to describe. I'm trying not to be too depressing, but I mean, you all watched it, you know. Something that shines through at the end to me, though, is even after all of that and talking about not wanting to finish this because he doesn't know what he would do with his life anymore after he finished this special, you see him watching the final work of art that he's created, and it zooms in on him, and he pops a little corner grin there, showing that I assume that he's happy with what he's created. Before I wrap up, a couple more things I want to talk about. One, something I feel isn't mentioned enough purely because of the art behind this and the meaningfulness behind this and everything else, is the fact that it's fucking impressive. It makes sense that this took a year for this guy to make, because he did all of the lighting, which is masterful lighting. Like, even with I'm Turning 30, the creativeness of just having the light on his phone and having it flash behind him, and then the amazing edits of hands up, and the fact that, like, in White Woman's Instagram, he got all of those props for maybe like 3 seconds here and there throughout the video. So it's masterful editing, it's masterful lighting and cinematography and camera angles, and Bo's a perfectionist. Of course it took him a year. It's incredibly impressive that he did what would take most people an entire production crew, and he did it himself. And the parts I remember aren't the songs. Now, yes, obviously, I do find myself throughout the day singing about Jeff Bezos or telling myself to put my hands up, or even, you know, posing like a white girl on Instagram. But that's not really what I remember. The parts I remember are those interludes. The interludes I was talking about, the ones that are funny and then get progressively darker and darker, and they give peeks into his psyche. The one that sticks with me the most is it shows him struggling over and over and over to do one take towards the end of the special, and he can't get it down. He just gets frustrated and pushes everything aside and storms off. And because those are what I remember, and because I remember the emotions this caused in me, I had to psych myself up for a rewatch. I have spoken about this in the past, but I myself struggle with some mental health disorders. I have bipolar. I take care of it. I talk to a therapist. I take medication. I'm a well-adjusted person with a mental health disorder. But there are a lot of parts of this special that spoke to me deeply and on a personal level and sent me in, I'm going to be honest, it sent me in a little bit of a spiral for the rest of the day because of it. And I had to psych myself up for this rewatch. And I felt like it was almost dangerous of me to watch it in bed by myself. I mean, granted, my wife was next to me, but she was sound asleep with my headphones on. I did fine. Don't worry about me. Thanks for the worry, though. I appreciate it. But be careful, man. This special will get to you. But that's the masterful part of it. There's not many things in my life that I have watched, and at the end, been like, this is art. This here is a work of art. This is what art is. It's art. That's all. That's the most I can say. Nobody has ever referred to this as a comedy special. He's never called it a comedy special. He always said, my new special's dropping. He never said, my comedy special's dropping. I'd call this a tragedy special. It's a comedy tragedy? A tragedy. God, that was fucking dumb. Why did I just say that? That's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever said. But all that being said, everything I just said, it's important to remember that this is fake. This is a special. This is Bo putting on a show. He's a perfectionist. As he has told us in the past, art is a lie and nothing is real. All of this is framed perfectly. He had a million chances to get the perfect take. He obviously put a camera down in front of him and cried. He put a camera across the room to capture him making these mistakes, trying to get the right words to come out of his mouth. And it's all edited in such a way to make you feel these things. He did this on purpose. He doesn't live in that house. He didn't stay in the house for a year. Bo has been with the same woman for 8 years, and he has a dog and a wonderful house, and he goes to therapy, and I'm sure he's very happy. All of this is probably drawn from actual emotions and experiences, but it's fake. It's staged. It's brilliant, and it's probably real to an extent, but it's important to remember that Bo's fine. He's just an artist. But all that being said, I'm going to stop this. I'm going to go downstairs, and I'm going to watch it a third time. Because why not? It's awesome. But thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Check out my other videos.